I have a question for you. Is there a possibility that you've been catastrophizing your marriage, catastrophizing your husband? What do I mean by catastrophize? It's this tendency to kind of have this feeling that the sky is falling and everything's overly dramatic and exaggerated, and your husband does one thing wrong and you jump to these sweeping negative conclusions about him, and then pretty soon your mind is focused on all his flaws and everything is a catastrophe, your marriage is a catastrophe, and it's all over, the sky is falling. I know I'm being a little overly dramatic in my presentation, but sometimes we fall into that dysfunctional and destructive pattern of catastrophizing, fearing and fixating on the worst possible scenarios, the worst possible conclusions, the worst possible assumptions about your husband. It could be something minor, but then your brain just kind of blows it up into something bigger. Like, let's say your husband knows that your love language is quality time, and so you've sort of made a hint. By the way, hinting, generally not good because most husbands don't get hinting, but you've hinted that you'd like him to go with you to a street fair, an art street fair. And then you find out that he's scheduled to go fishing the next day with his buddy instead. And you're like, I can't believe this man. He doesn't even love me. He's a loser. And pretty soon you have I know my voice is getting higher and higher. You get to all these horrible negative conclusions. You've catastrophized the whole thing. And I don't know if men do this, but I know that women do this pretty easily. We fall into this very negative way of thinking. We're fixated on all the flaws. We jump to negative, sweeping conclusions about our man's character. And pretty soon this guy, in our mind, is just a big fat stinking jerk. And this doesn't bode well for your marriage when you allow yourself to catastrophize and assume the worst at every possible turn. Instead, the remedy is very simple. When you find yourself doing that, you immediately pause and you say, you know what? I'm going to do what Philippians 4:8 says. Let me refresh your memory as to Philippians 4:8. It says this: finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if anything is worthy of praise, think about those things. And this turns my thought pattern around immediately. It's almost crazy and miraculous how quickly my thoughts and my feelings toward my husband change when I do Philippians 4:8. So when I find myself jumping to these negative conclusions, saying and sweeping condemnations of my husband that he's just a jerk or whatever, I catch myself and say, wait a minute. Philippians 4:8, I'm going to train my thoughts just for a moment here on my husband's good qualities. So I'll start to list his good qualities. And your husband has some too. I know sometimes we think, no, he doesn't even have any stinking good qualities. But yes, he does. He has some. You married him for some reason. Maybe he has a sense of humor. Maybe he's a hard worker. Whatever. Maybe he's handsome. I don't know. So I just start listing some of my husband's good qualities. And literally, within like 10 seconds, my feelings toward my husband are so much more warm and loving. And I'm like, oh, I guess he's not a pathetic loser after all. Actually, I guess I'm kind of blessed to be married to this man. And the dysfunctional pattern has come to a screeching halt. So stop catastrophizing, catch yourself when you do, and immediately flip it around, concentrate on his good qualities. You might need to approach him and ask him to change if there's some really sinful behavior going on. But you know what I'm talking about. In general, when you catch yourself catastrophizing, quickly change it around, focus on his good qualities, and see if that doesn't change the trajectory of your marriage for a much better course.